Hi guys, welcome back, and hello if you are new. So, second review of the week today goes to the Norse prog black metal masters ENSLAVED. On this, their 16th studio album, I think it's fair to say that ENSLAVED are pretty much integral to the world of black metal. They continue to expand their sound whilst remaining true to their Nordic roots on their brand new album, Heimdal. If you're not familiar with ENSLAVED, they are a band that have been around since 1991, as long as I have been on this planet. Previously, they were characterized by particularly black metal earlier on in their incarnation, and then slowly but surely kind of ended up adopting more of a progressive idea, and that's kind of even that has kind of evolved in terms of what kind of level of progressive. Heimdal as an album is a multifaceted concept. Heimdal is named after a mysterious entity in Norse mythology, and he's also the keeper of the 9 realms. It's the idea of the past and the future, the known and the unknown, and ENSLAVED sit in the middle. And in many ways, duality has always been, I think, integral to ENSLAVED sounds, but it's really important to get that, to really understand what Heimdal is offering, because essentially it's a fusion between these two to create something completely new. And in a way, I think there's kind of an esoteric juxtapositioning between the air and the ground. The air is the more free-spirited quality, which is contrasted with the very much grounded idea of, nature, black metal, that sort of ritualistic kind of vibe that ENSLAVED have had. And black metal is very stoic and immovable, whereas progressive is malleable, it's transient, it's kind of, you can do a lot more with it. And it's how they bring those two together that I think really makes Heimdal such a fantastic record. Whereas Utgard might have seen ENSLAVED introduce an idea of the psychedelic, I think that Heimdal really shows them exploring it properly. And the psychedelic manifests itself in sometimes quite obvious ways, like on Kingdom and also The Eternal Sea, which is, more kind of electronic synth-led. But it's also more of a kind of insidious idea, and is kind of represented throughout the album, just in the way that it feels, the way that it sort of like it is represented. And Grutel's vocals, I think, on this album are brilliant. They're constantly flying through the universe of each track that we kind of move through, and the delay effect that's on there, it really kind of does enhance that idea of the psychedelic.
A sword arm puts to better use. Racing sails toward.
And it proves, I think, that if anything, psychedelic is more of a state of mind than it is a sound. Where that earthen quality is where the black metal comes in. And that's where I think, songs like Congelia, which initially I kind of was really quite taken aback by it, because it's very, very black metal heavy, very focused on that. And it's a simple riff where the song slowly but surely kind of evolves around that. On Forest Dweller as well, which I thought was really cool. Again, going back to that idea of nature, and for me reminded me in points of their E material. So the first things that we hear are water, it's quite silent. There's a real stillness to Behind the Mirror when that starts. And that is, qualities that you would associate with nature, with the grounded. Then we hear this horn, which is blown by one of the members of Wardruna on an incredibly old, actual ritualistic horn. That signifies for me the leaving of that sort of, natural realm where there is this sort of mystic feel. then the album ends with a horn, but it's very much in a totally different manner. It's way more psychedelic, it's a lot more cosmic, and it just represents that other side, you know, so it's kind of like we've walked through the wormhole and that's where we've ended up. Vocals have always been a very big contrasting factor in Enslaved, but I think for the first time, the two of them are kind of assimilating together. And I love the fact that there's more of an emphasis on Grutal, but then when needed, there's more of an emphasis on Hakon, because they're such interesting vocals, and how they interplay with each other is another reason why I love Heimdal so much. This idea of contrast, I think, is also seen in the leads, but, you know, it's kind of like these sort of two different personalities of Icedale. So you've got an effects-driven, quite sort of minimalist solo on Kingdom, but then Congelia and Caravans to Outer Worlds is very much kind of classic Icedale. But then there's a fusion of the two of them, which is the final track, Heimdal, which is something completely different than I think we've seen, you know, from the lead idea of what, you know, the band are putting forward. Which weirdly brings me to the keyboards, which I kind of think, you know, using that sort of analogy of the earth and then also, you know, the sort of like air and, you know, the sort of untethered, weirdly the keyboards kind of straddle the two. And that's where I think, you know, it's really, really interesting, because I think keyboards are very much a catalyst into how this album became way more psychedelic and how the band really kind of pushed their sound further out. With Heimdal, Enslaved have begun to fuse together their prog and psychedelic identities with the raw black metal of their early career. And in doing so, have created an album that is just as intellectually challenging, both musically and thematically, and will without a doubt be in my albums of the year. And with that, I'm going to give this album a 9.5 out of 10. So I hope you guys enjoyed this album review. Let me know what you think in the comments underneath me. Please do hit that like and subscribe button. Let me know what you think of the album as well, and I will see you guys next week for another album review. Take care.